Hey everyone, welcome back. Thank you as always for joining us. This is Miguel Antonio Barragan, aka Fight Fiend Migs, joined as always by my co-host Andrew Don't Get It Twisted Lapachet. And this is the Mad Boxing Show, or Mad Boxing for short. Thank you so much for joining us once more. Thank you also for your patience in all of this. I had to take an impromptu trip to my second home, Tijuana, Baja California, Mexico. I had to take down there real quick. I had to drive my pops down there, and of course, my dad is in his early 70s, so long distance driving like that isn't exactly his thing anymore. So of course, who does it fall on? The chauffeur of the house, and that is me. So I had to take my pops there this weekend and or last weekend, so we didn't get a chance to get back at you guys with a show last week. So we appreciate your guys' patience. We're definitely going to make up for it with this show because we're going to talk about stuff that we should have talked about last week, including some crazy results with last week's Prime Video PBC card with a doubleheader, I should say, Plant and Charlo, that we'll get to momentarily. In addition to more news that we know Andrew's going to want to talk about, apparently Dana White might be back in the picture in regards to Crawford and Canelo, which we'll talk about shortly. In addition to a lot of other things, like the outside of the ring drama between Teofimo Lopez and Devin Haney, that we will definitely go in depth because realistically, that shit's some drama. That's some soap opera type of shit. But we will talk about all of that in good time. Andrew, what's going on, dude? How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Miguel? Doing very good. Had a boring weekend. Stayed home, hung out, did nothing really. But everyone's good. Life is good. So moving on.
How's everything? Are you guys getting hot over there? Because it is hot as fuck over here now. Like, it is hot.
Yes, today was about in the low 90s, I would say. So I don't know if it's Vegas hot, but definitely feeling the heat over here.
Oh yeah, that's definitely not Vegas hot because right now it's Pacific Standard Time 7:40. It's still 100 degrees right now outside. So yeah, as of right now, the summer, even though the summer doesn't really kick in officially on the calendar until the 21st or whatever, it is hot. It is summer as a mother, and we had a little bit of a monsoon last week. We had a ton of rain, but it would like come and go. So it just came. It was windy as hell. It just enough to get everything dirty and all the damn leaves and trash all over the front yard. And then it went. And then just like that, boom, that was the introduction to summer.
Hey,
That's how
did
Vegas
you
does.
see the hail? Where
No, I didn't. I didn't get any, but my boss did. My boss lives elsewhere in the city. Yeah, she definitely got the hail.
Yeah, weird. They said it was like 90 degrees out there, and it was the hailing.
That's a trip. I don't know how the hell. I mean, this weather here in Vegas, it's freaking odd. Sometimes it's like an oven. It's like stagnant as hell and hot as hell, and then sometimes it's windy and it's rainy all of a sudden. So you don't know what to do. You need to make sure. There are times where I want to crack my window a little bit, my truck, so it doesn't get too hot in there. But I risk like it being a super windy day and throwing in a bunch of dirt and dust in there. So like, fuck. It's either or. Either I deal with the heat inside, or I crack the window and get water or anything else in there. So yeah, sometimes it's this Vegas weather just can't make up its damn mind. But I'm glad to hear that you had a relatively, non-eventful weekend, nice and chill at his house, because we did that as well. I mean, this weekend at least, because last weekend I did a lot of driving. As I said, I had to go to Mexico, and that shit was goddamn crossing the border. Because the line, there's people that I don't know if you guys know this, the people who live in California, or I should say work in California, but live in Tijuana, like San Diego, right? So they cross over every morning to go to work and then cross back when they go back home. So if you don't leave early enough, if you don't get in line, crossing the border early enough, you're going to be there for 2 hours crossing that damn line. So we had to cross over there like at 4:30 a.m. We had to like literally get up 3 some odd, get ready, brush your teeth, and then get crack-a-lacking. And even then, it still took us about an hour to cross over. So yeah, if you guys ever need to do that, don't crossing, going from the U.S. to Tijuana, no problem. But the way back, goddamn, that's a long ass line. It's like the lines at fucking Disneyland or something. That's how I liken it to. But that being said, there was some fights last weekend and some very surprising results. If you guys haven't checked out already, I was able to make it to the Caleb Plant and Jamal Charlo doubleheader open workout or media workout that they had at the Mandalay Bay. I made it down there. I got there weren't that many people. They actually did pretty good about getting Caleb Plant in there first and then gone. So as soon as he left, a lot of people left with him, frankly. So I was like, all right, well, there aren't that many people to begin with. And then there were even fewer when he left. So if you guys haven't checked out our YouTube channel, make sure to check it out, because I was able to get some footage of them, the main eventers at least, doing their thing in the ring, in this makeshift ring that they had at the Mandalay Bay. So by all means, check it out. But that does lead us to that weekend's fight that took place at the Michelob Ultra Arena, which is pretty much the Mandalay Bay Event Center, and some quite surprising results. I honestly was of the opinion that the one who probably had the more difficult task was, I thought, Charlo, specifically because of his time away from the ring. Thomas Lamana was on a 9-fight win streak, and I thought, okay, well, he's got plenty of momentum going. Charlo has been out of the ring for, I don't know how long at that point. I'm sure they mentioned it countless times, but I've already forgotten. So I thought, you know what? It's going to be a problem for him. I did not think it was going to be Caleb Plant, who had a bit more difficult task, but that's how it turned out, right? That's just ultimately how it turned out. But to start off with that first one, Andrew, did you see what we expected to see out of Charlo and the Charlo and Lamana fight?
Yeah, I was thinking, I think Charlo's rust was him not getting Lamana out of there, putting him to sleep.
So, you mean? Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
putting him to sleep. He was always above class above the kid. The only reason why you gave him a shot was because of the ring rust. You take away that, this is a mismatched fight, and it was kind of that in real life, anyways. Rust or no rust. Can't say Charlo's back, just good matchmaking, right? Because I would have had Charlo winning this fight, either way. So just good matchmaking. I didn't really see too much there that would make me think that Charlo was going to do anything special in this little comeback run that he has, right? He has a record. He's undefeated. He's going to take on some good opposition and see what happens. But he's very old, and at any moment, he could put in a performance like the main event guy did, right? Because that's what happens when you're in your mid-30s and you're past your prime and now you're on your way down. So Charlo has the opportunity of selling that that, in my opinion, that's what he has here. Now, the money might be better today than it was last Friday? If that makes any sense. I think the outcome of the main event gave everybody a raise in that division.
Yeah. All right. And we will get to that main event here momentarily. But before we actually saw, after that fight, after the co-main event, right, Charlo defeating Lamana, before the main event started, at that moment, when you saw Charlo, the way he did it, do you think, oh yeah, that Charlo can be Plant, or no, that Charlo still can be Plant? Because the understanding was that as long as they both won, they were going to go on to face one another later. But prior to that, right in between, as soon as that fight ended with Charlo, what did you think immediately? Did you think, oh shit, he'll give Plant a good fight, or yeah, he will be Plant, or no, he's still not good enough to be Plant? Any one of those prior to the Plant fight?
Probably still had Plant as a favorite going in after that fight. Was looking forward to it though. It was a good matchup, you know what I'm saying? And maybe it still is. I see Charlo saying he still wants his lick back or whatever, even if he lost or not. But the platform that the PBC is on, I don't know if that fight warrants a deal anymore, right? With Plant losing, that loses a lot of markability in that fight. A lot of eyeballs. So no, I don't think they're gonna run that. But yeah, immediately after the Lamana fight, I still had Caleb Plant my favorite. Yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough main event, but the ball never stops rolling. That's all right.
And we will shortly after this, before we go on to the next topic, we're going to be talking about PBC because we did read some news about that as well. But of course, this was a PBC on Prime TV card that we will momentarily talk about. But that being said, then we came to the main event. And look, when I went to the media workout for these guys, the only guy that I believe took his shirt off was Jose Resendez, or Armando Jose Resendez. When I saw the way he looked, I was like, oh shit, he looked pretty solid. I mean, he's a smaller super middleweight, and I think this was actually his first fight as super middleweight because he had fought at middleweight prior when he beat Jared Hurd, I believe it was. And he looked fucking solid. I was like, damn, this dude, holy hell. And my dad, we're gonna root on Mexican fighters. Where my dad's like, hey, that damn, he looks fucking good. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he was shadowboxing in the ring, looking solid as fuck. And we're like, wow. And you know what? He had quite the support, which was kind of crazy. He had his family there, of course, and they were the loudest. And people were like, "Oh shit!" There's people like his family here are like calling him Toro, right? Toro means bull. That's like his nickname, like Toro, Toro. So everyone's like, "Oh shit!" And people started tagging along. I was like, "Oh damn, he's got himself a little following. All right, cool, cool." He got a little bit more, maybe confidence in himself, right? And going into the fight, I was like, all right, well, I forgot. As a matter of fact, I have the odds here. Funny enough, because I remember seeing this. Jose Armando Resendiz was at plus 750. Well, this was at the time. This was that day actually when I went to go record. I went to the it's actually nearby the what is it called, the sports book, and there's where I picked up these sheets, right? So I thought, okay, well, he looks great, but Plant has, especially over the last few fights, it seems as though he's able to make the adjustments. I mean, not with Benavides, but in his previous fight with McCumbee, he was able to make the adjustments. And I was like, all right, if there's a point where Resendiz gives him some trouble, I figured Plant is going to be able to make the mid-fight adjustments and turn it around at the end. That did not happen. Holy hell, did that not happen? I thought maybe, you know what, this is his first fight at 168 for Resendiz. He's probably going to run out of gas. Maybe, it's a little bit more extra weight than he's normally used to. He didn't take his foot off the gas pedal at all and ultimately came away with the decision victory and the interim WBA super middleweight title on top of that. So, wow, what an upset, right? Caleb Plant was at minus 2,000. It's crazy. Lamana was crazy. Going back to real quick and Lamana and Charlo. Lamana wasn't even himself that big of an underdog. I mean, it was still big, plus 600 for Lamana, but plus 750 for Resendiz. And what a performance! I mean, I don't know. I know a lot of people are. The immediate narrative is like, damn, Caleb Plant is going on the way out, right? He's like running out of shit, and I think it's kind of fucked up that they're going that direction instead of saying like, damn, Resendiz put on a hell of a fucking performance. This is granted not the same Plant as the one against Benavides or Canelo, but he still had his bearings, right? It wasn't like he was completely shot by any stretch, and I still don't think he is, frankly. But it sucks that they're kind of diminishing that win of Resendiz a little bit by focusing more on Caleb's decline as opposed to the great performance that Resendiz put in. So, what was your reaction? First off, when when he got during the fight, right? When he hurt Plant for a quick second, me and my dad got up. We're like, "Oh fuck, he's gonna fucking do it." What was your reaction? During the fight before we even get to the decision at the end. But what was Caleb Plant doing wrong?
What he's doing wrong, just a little off. Maybe I think that's why people are leaning on age, because his style, you need a lot of natural reflexes, right? His
Mhm.
style is not, he doesn't keep his hands up. He's using a lot of head movement and all that. Well, most of the time when you start slipping with that style, things go pretty fast. And so is that the beginning of what we've seen with Caleb Plant that night? Now for Resendez, how do you say his last name?
Uh,
Resendez?
yeah, Resendiz, I guess Resendiz.
Resendez?
Yeah.
Resendez? It's a good thing that people are still going to call him the underdog. That's a
Mhm.
great thing. Let them underestimate him. You know what I mean? As long as he keeps winning, he should have no problem being off the radar. It's when he starts getting on the radar when things are going to get rough, right?
Mhm.
So I would embrace the underdog role right now. First thing I thought, Miguel, when that fight was taking place was, how did this kid slip through the cracks? You know, he's a outstanding fighter, good looking kid, right? They don't have any bad stories about him going into the fight, like he was in prison before he started fighting. Just one of those bullshit.
Mhm.
Prison saved boxing saved his life from the gang life of the streets where he was
Right.
shot and da, 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 and his brothers are
As a
dead
drug
and
dealer, someone's
yeah,
almost.
his mom passed away, and it's like, oh my god, there's always these fucking nightmare stories with these kids. Yeah, he has none of that. Good looking kid, hell of a fighter. Body looked extremely good. Like he's very Like how did these guys slip through the cracks? It's one of those things in boxing. The Sergio Martinez's of the world, right? Like these guys that come out of nowhere and then they're just gems, and it's like, what the hell? He might be that. Now he needs to win again, obviously, right? You can't just have one fight and then don't be a George Cambosos. How about that one?
Oh, damn. Sorry.
Right?
Yes.
Oh, I know. I'm not picking on you. It makes sense, right?
Right.
It makes sense. Don't be that guy. Let's hopefully he can get a win on top of this one. But like I said, when I said everyone got a raise, I mean, man, when you match this kid up, you seen he had a following.
Yeah.
His following only doubled. I went and followed him immediately on Instagram, right? So now I got the kid. I'm sure there's thousands of other people that went and followed him that night. Him and Berlanga, him and Charlo, him and Munguia, like these names in these matchups. If he just can keep winning, the kid will be a superstar, and we all know where it leads to. You know what I mean? We all know where this leads to if you just keep winning. If anything, you're going to push him out of the sport because David already has him locked out of fucking 175?
175, yeah.
175, and now you're going to be hunting them down at 168. We know the people are going to be clamoring for this fight if you just keep winning. But right now, yeah, dude, everybody gets a raise. I'm really interested in seeing him take on whoever in Berlanga and Charlo. Take the opposition. Like, look, I know they're saying Caleb Plant maybe in the rematch. Maybe that's the way they go. But with the current state that the PBC sits in, they might not be able to do that rematch. Al Heyman might be like, no, we got to go with what's hot. And if they're asking for him versus Berlanga, because that's going to make more money on pay-per-view than anything else, or even on TV, then that's the fight they should go with. Sucks for Caleb, but that's what happens when you lose. And unfortunately, he lost. That was a big fight in his year. He needed one more win to get the Charlo pay-per-view, and he didn't get it. So don't think Charlo's going to wait around for him. I think Charlo only wants the biggest fights that are out there right now. And unfortunately, it's not Caleb Plant right now. So it sucks for Caleb. I know the rematch is there, but we'll see if that happens. Yeah. Didn't think the rematch was going to happen for what was it, Haney Garcia, and I don't think it's going to happen for this one either. Yeah.
All right, that's understandable. So he comes away with the victory, right? And at that point, basically, he was interviewed in the ring, and he said it himself prior to the fight. Shit, if I win, give me Charlo. Go ahead, let's fucking do it. That performance that he puts on there, does he beat Charlo like that?
Why not? Why not? Now I don't know anything else about. Look, I seen the kid get lit up, right? I've seen the highlight reels of his loss where he gets lit up pretty bad. So we don't know which Resendez we're gonna get in the ring. Okay. All we can do is watch. I know he's exciting enough and good enough that I'll be watching that fight if it's signed. And then if he can pull out the same kind of victory against Charlo, we're talking about the real deal here. He would have taken out two excellent fighters, and now we're moving forward. But yeah, off top, I don't know if this is a Cinderella story or if this is the rise of a new face in boxing. Because definitely the young man's going to be a new face of boxing if he can keep these wins up.
Yeah, it's not a bad deal. I would love to see that because, quite frankly, I think he deserves it now, right? I mean, the whole point of this doubleheader was for Plant to win and was for Charlo to win, and then for them to meet up down the line themselves, since And I was more concerned with Charlo. I was thinking like, you know what, the Lomana's on a fucking fight win streak, and Charlo's kind of been out for a while. I thought he was the one in more danger, and it turned out to be the other way around. So, considering that was the case, I'm totally down with Resendiz taking Charlo's spot. I mean, Plant's spot against Charlo, and that would be a fight I'm willing to watch. That one looks entertaining. Whether or not he can actually get it done again, whether it was just a one performance that, which by the way, props to Manny Robles. Manny Robles is his trainer with another upset. I was looking for this one post that I found on Instagram talking about his upsets. One of them being with Andy Ruiz right against Anthony Joshua. There was another one in there that I'm trying to remember right offhand. I don't remember who the fuck it was.
Yeah, Rafael. It showed he had Rafael Espinoza, I believe.
Oh yeah, he has
Espinoza, to win his title. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. That one too. So props to him. Holy hell, he's coming up with a crop of pretty solid people, and we thought, and sometimes it happens, sometimes you're just a one-hit wonder. You get a fighter and he does it off and that's it. But he did it with Ruiz. He did it with Espinoza. He's doing it now with Resendiz. So I would want to see it because I think he deserves it, Resendiz. But is there a possibility you think they're probably going to force Plant and Charlo anyway?
Like I said, with the current state of the PBC, I don't know if they can force anything. Like, who's forcing? Al Heyman's basically making these fights with his own money. Amazon's not attached at all, right? So this would be a PBC pushed card. Now, is it possible on the undercard of maybe a Tank Davis fight? Yes, that's possible. That's doable if they're, but it couldn't be a Caleb Plant driven pay-per-view. This is there's no fight there for it. The only thing that can say maybe the undercard of David Benavidez, something like that. If they can somehow get into the same time frame as those two fighters, then yeah, maybe they make this rematch happen. But if this is Al Heyman going, no, I need a fight solo to make a main event, I think he moves forward. Resendiz and Caleb is back to square one, fighting, square one again. Obviously, I know the contracts, the rematch clause comes into effect, but if Caleb Plant is not going to make the money that he wants, right, maybe he moves away from the rematch him damn self. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't move forward with it. So I think if there was another party involved in this fight negotiating, then possible the rematch gets happen. But because they're both under PBC, and PBC is in the current situation it is with Amazon, meaning it just has really a platform, they're not guaranteed no money. There's no fight there.
Yeah, and I for those of you who may or may not remember, I did submit a request or the form for credentials for that fight this weekend or last weekend, because I kind of want to ask some of these fighters that question. Because granted, that was a pretty solid card, right? We had a good co-main event and a main event, and some news has come up since then that I kind of want to ask the fighters. So if in the near future at any point I get access to any of these PBC guys, I want to ask them, like, how's your relationship with PBC? Like, have you heard anything? Are you at liberty to disclose anything about Al Heyman himself or PBC or PBC's position with Amazon Prime? The reason I'm asking this question is because of a recent tweet by one Rick Glazer, who, everybody knows is a very long-time boxing insider. He goes on to quote, right? This was some time ago. He says, who knew first? Of course, he's pointing himself. Who knew first, right? All the naysayers said, I didn't know what I was talking about. PBC is getting jet-sended by Amazon Prime Video. I have deep connections in not only boxing, also the TV industry, and with big-time attorneys. My info is on point. Show some respect. Now, what he's referring to is a screenshot that he took of this, which I believe was on some website. Let me read it off here. It says, Amazon's refocus on legacy leagues. It goes on to say, Amazon's broader sports play is surging. A $1 billion per year investment in Thursday night football runs through 2033. Its new media rights deal with the NBA and WNBA kicks in next season, part of a sweeping 11-year, $76 billion deal alongside Disney and NBC. Regional simulcasts with Yankees continue, and conversations are underway about joining Olympic coverage ahead of Los Angeles 2028. Amazon's current combat sports slate no longer fits the new direction. Premier Boxing Champions, PBC, is on the way out once its deal wraps up. The focus is now on properties with scale, global pull, and advertiser confidence. So, according to this report here, as soon as PBC's deal with Amazon Prime is done, they're out. Now, I don't know right offhand when that deal is supposed to be up. I don't remember how long the deal was for to begin with when it was first announced. I might have to do a little bit of digging to try to figure that out first. But according to this is what Rick Glazer has been saying for quite some time now. They're on their deathbed. At some point, the what is it the plug is going to be pulled, and we're kind of at the point where we don't know when that's going to happen yet. Obviously, there are fewer and fewer PBC cards as time goes on. Now we're getting these non-pay-per-view cards. I assume that had Charlo and, oh, I'm sorry, not Charlo, Plant, had Plant won, we would have gotten Plant Charlo on pay-per-view. I would figure that was the plan. If that fight still goes through, it definitely cannot be pay-per-view anymore. It has to be one of these regular PBC Prime type cards. And as of right now, I don't know what numbers it did. I have to assume a lot of people have Amazon Prime as it is video, so maybe fans watched it anyway. But I don't know what the numbers are as far as ratings go. But what do you make of this, Andrew? It looks like as soon as PBC's deal with Amazon Prime ends, they're out the door.
Yeah. I mean, what to make of it? What was it in the very beginning? It's funny how Rick says that he has all these insiders. We kind of came up with the same conclusion without no connects, right?
Right.
The platform was never right for boxing, right? It was never right for the PBC. Like it just looked like a dead end road from the very beginning. So, you want to take credit for calling that. That's cool. PBC's been on its deathbed for a very long time, and we still don't really know when this thing is going to finally call it quits. So, I don't really know if you can take, too much credit for saying, yeah, see, I told you they were going to be dead. They've been around for 10 years since you started saying that, right? So,
Right.
so it's like, I don't know. But the platform leaving is a bad thing because I don't think the PBC ever gave it a fair shot. That doesn't mean it's not going to work, and it doesn't mean that Amazon doesn't try again with another company once the right fighter fits, right? Tim Zhu was not the right fighter. So the fact that they were trying to open up their platform under Tim Zhu was a disaster from the very beginning. But the right type of fighter, a kid that's going to move the needle. I see a lot of these streaming apps coming right back to boxing. It's just boxing doesn't have enough of the stars to fill in the streaming numbers that they're looking for. And that probably would have been a problem even in the 90s. We just wouldn't have enough stars, right? Boxing might have to start over from the beginning on finding a platform and building these fighters, these relationships up with the fighters and the audience, as what HBO and Showtime used to do. They had stables. Their audiences used to connect with the stables because they would see commercials, they would see build-up shows, they would see replays of fights that they were told were great fights, right? Remember when HBO used to have a great fight, they'd show highlights and go, next Saturday, we're going to show this. I'm like, wow, man, that thing looked killer. Those guys are throwing it. Then they would tune in and watch a replay. We need that again. That's what we need back. We were fools for thinking we were bigger than that platform, and we've been hurt ever since then. It's not PBC's fault. It's boxing's fault. It's not a PBC problem. It's a boxing problem. So Turki Ali Sheik is finding that out right now as he tried to come in and go, oh, you know what? Everything's free. Oh, wait, you know what? Or even DAZN. Everything's free. We're getting rid of the pay-per-view. And fucking 6 months later, like, yeah, there ain't no money in this motherfucking sport. Start charging these guys for all these fights. And we're seeing Turkey do the same thing now. Now there's another bundle. Yeah, you can bundle this for either 35 or I forget what the fuck the one fight costs. You can go all the way up to $100. Thanks, Turkey. You're really saving boxing. Now it's $100 to watch the pay-per-views. You know? Yeah, that's cool that you're attaching 3 of them, but what if I only wanted to see that one? You know what I mean? It's just we see that even Turkey came here with these big ideas about changing the sport and making it free, and we're going to do this. This is the 3rd company now in like 20 years that has tried this. PBC, DAZN, and now Turkey Ali Sheikh. And they've all come up empty-handed, and they've all come up with, now we got to charge you guys for pay-per-view. So, it's not that type of sport, right? It's not that type. We're not the NBA. We're not Major League Baseball. We're not the NFL. We don't have billions of dollars in marketing. We don't have people buying our fucking clothes and our T-shirts and our jerseys and all that. It's not. It's not even the UFC. The UFC is not even Major League Baseball. I'm sorry. I don't remember the last time I even seen a brand new UFC shirt on the street anymore. I really don't. That shit died with that guy that died in that accident. It really did. Rest in peace. I don't mean that in a bad way, but it seems like ever since that company sold to the UFC, the shirt industry just went down. What company what was that shirt that the man died? The owner, one of the owners died. It was a 3-man owner of a shirt company that was working with the UFC.
Oh, Tap Out?
Yeah, Tap Out. There you go. Yeah. When that man passed away, unfortunately, that was like the end of Tap Out's like reign on athletic clothesline, because they were fucking taking over before that. So I know Turkey wants to make it like the UFC, but and maybe they will with this TKO league, but the UFC is not even what Amazon Sports is looking for. When you're talking, they're putting $1 billion into Major League Baseball and NFL and all that. That's a whole nother league. That's not boxing. So it's unfortunate, but it's true.
Yeah. And then on top of that, we're going to have later this summer? Oh, shit, real soon, actually. Top Rank, their deal with ESPN is going to be ending this summer. I believe, July, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the last time I remember reading it. I'll have to pull it up again. But even they will be out of a platform because it doesn't seem, unless something happens last minute where they end up re-signing some sort of extension, or they, magically land on DAZN or something like that, it's going to look like Top Rank is going to be out as well. It's like, damn, who would have thought that, maybe Top Rank would be out the picture before PBC? Because as of right now, PBC has July with the Mario Barrios and Manny Pacquiao pay-per-view, and then as of right now, it hasn't been announced, but what's been said, at least August 16th, I believe they said, with Gervonta Tank Davis and Lamont Roach Jr. rematch supposedly taking place in August. Those are the only two, July and August. All right. Well, those are pay-per-view cards. They haven't mentioned any other ones in between. But like I said, fewer and fewer cards. Top Rank is still running their cards, and they kind of faced a road bump last night, which we'll get to momentarily here. But crazy news. It looks like PBC is out the door soon. Top Rank, who the fuck knows how much longer they got. All I know is that their contract is ending here real soon with ESPN. But for as many times that we said it, PBC is still kind of trucking along somehow, right? They still got at least a few more cards left. How much longer they last, we don't know. But the next time I get a chance to ask any PBC guy or to interview any PBC guy, I'm going to ask them that question. I'm going to have to ask them, hey, what is your relationship with PBC? What are you able to disclose? Al Heyman, all this stuff. What do you know? Who has told you like what? Because, look, when you hear rumblings of your own company, going under, you hear rumblings, right? You get a little concerned. You get a little scared. You're like, oh, shit, what's going on? Then you start asking questions like to your superiors, like, hey, is there something I should be worried about? Or, I'm sure a lot of these PBC fighters are reading this stuff. They are seeing this stuff. And Granted, maybe they're not in the position to disclose it, but they're hearing the rumblings within their own company. They're reading this stuff online, and I find it hard to believe that nobody knows anything as far as fighters go. So, I'm going to try to see if I can get an answer out of somebody at some point. Mind you, July is coming up, right, with the pay-per-view with Manny Pacquiao and Mario Barrios. I'll put in credentials for that one too. Fuck it. Any PBC fighter that I can kind of come across that I can maybe ask that kind of question to, if they're willing to answer it. Of course, I will be asking. But man, Andrew, what do you think the chances are that either PBC or Top Rank are gone by the end of the year?
Oh, by the end of the year, I don't know. That's kind of soon. I would think Top Rank is on the way out faster than the PBC, because Top Rank just doesn't seem like they're in it to make stars anymore. Like, they don't mind building guys' careers, but as far as like paying $20 million, $8 million, $10 million pay-per-view days, when's the last time fucking we've even heard Bob Arum attached to a check like that, bro?
Mm-hmm.
Tyson Fury and maybe one of Tyson, maybe one of Tyson Fury's fights, and really it's not Top Rank that are pushing those things. Tyson Fury's been fighting in Saudi Arabia for a while now. Mm-hmm. He's been getting paid by Turkey, right? So I don't even know if it's probably the Wilder fight years ago, where they were alone and it was just him and Al Heyman doing that fight together. So yeah, it's Top Rank, unfortunately, they are one of these old sports franchise NFL teams, the Jerry Joneses, the Al Davises, right? The guys that just hold on too long, right? The sports world has passed them up. Things have changed, and they're not changing, right? They're not even changing ownership. And you know what? Love Bob Arum to death. He can still hold an interview. Heard the man talk the other day. And he holds a great interview talking about boxing. This guy's like fucking pushing 90, man. Mm-hmm. Still got a strong mind, still knows what's going on. But, I mean, seriously, it's like he's 90. You guys, they fumbled. They fumbled the ball, not moving on. I'll give it to Lee that he brought up that they were the first ones that went to the streaming, right? They knew about that. But that was about all they were ahead of. Everything else, they were not. And Bob Arum just hasn't been connecting with these fighters for a long time. How many guys have left this company claiming racism, right? That's a disconnect right there. That shows you're an old timer right there. What are you saying to these young men and these fucking behind the scenes that is making them all come up with the same fucking conclusions? So, and we kind of hear Bob say it, and Mexican and Puerto Ricans are greatest fight, and like Bob, jeez.
Yeah, don't take it there, Bob. Damn it,
you're fucking on the edge, bro. These kids don't want to hear that shit nowadays. They're very sensitive, So I'm gonna think that Bob Arum and them, the Top Rank, might sell. There might be a retirement party for Bob Arum and Top Rank. Just because of his age, and just no one else could carry this fucking company. I don't know. Maybe Bob doesn't trust anyone else. Maybe he wants his kids to buy it off of him. Who knows? Like, who knows? But I see them moving. For some reason, Al Heyman just hasn't went away, and I don't see him going away. The PBC might go away, but I think they're still going to be saying PBC. All of his fighters will still be screaming PBC, and they'll all still be saying thank you, Al Heyman, and he'll still be a manager, and he'll still be around. You know what I mean? I don't see that guy. He's young and he's still got a lot of influence. I don't see him going anywhere. So I'm changing my tune a little. 2 years ago, I would have been like, go to Top Rank, fuck out. But now, it just seems like Al Heyman has a little bit more fire to keep this thing going than Bob. Bob just seems like he's just in it right now to make a few dollars on it, for Top Rank on his way out. But yeah, so I'm gonna go with, I think Top Rank would be the first one. Yeah, I never would have thought that would.
No, that's what I'm saying, dude. We've been saying it for the longest time. I wouldn't have guessed it either. It wasn't until I started hearing these things about how their contracts coming to an end with ESPN, and they don't have another platform to go to yet. How soon? I mean, how how long can they survive? Like, let's say they don't, because we're talking a month and a half, and 2 months, whatever. Um, if they don't sign something with somebody, either it's with ESPN still or with somebody else, how long can they stay afloat like that without a platform to be on?
Not
Like,
long. Not long at all, bro, because their content can get easily swallowed up with the bigger fish that have money,
mm,
right? The Fernando Vargases of the world and the um, Abdullah Masons of the world. What other young? The Richard Cortez, is that
oh
his
yeah,
name? The heavyweight
Torres,
young man,
Torres, Torres.
Torres. These guys, the guys that have been really making these cards for ESPN as of lately, right?
Mm,
The Japanese kid,
mm,
Inoue. That's not a lot of money. Come on, stop it. Inoue's not Pacquiao.
yeah,
He's not Pacquiao. He might be making 2 million, 5 million on a great day, maybe 5 mil, but he ain't Manny. It's not a $20 million. It's not a $15 million fight. So even he can get gobbled up. A lot of their content can get gobbled up. Same with the PBC. The only thing the PBC had was they had an audience that was cool with buying their pay-per-views. As far as we know, as far as they let us know,
mm,
right? We don't know the true numbers. No one's breaking it down. With all of his inside connects, we never get the true actual numbers of, hey, here's a number, whatever. But we they have an audience. They buy
mhm.
their pay-per-views. So that's what the PBC has had going for them. I mean, Tank Davis is a great draw for the PBC, and Benavides has turned into a great draw for them. Charlo, Caleb Plant, unfortunately, didn't last long, but started becoming a big draw for them. Just he had names of guys who were solid in the sport as champions, as ticket sellers. So his would be a little bit harder to gobble up, but still, I think if Turkey was like, "What? They're all on the free market now? Yeah, go ahead, bring them all in." I think it'd be no problem gobbling them all up too.
Yeah, it's a very, very good point, and it's unfortunate that this is the position that Top Rank is in. And last weekend they took another L. Last night, I should say, they took yet another L with another young hot prospect, not coming through. I'm sure you guys know by now. Keyshawn Davis, Friday afternoon, Friday whatever evening, was heavy, 4 pound, 0.3 pounds, I think 4 pounds roughly, over the weight
A
class.
division. He was a division over him.
Yeah, pretty much. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. And mind you, he's a lightweight, right? 135 pounds. He just won the WBO lightweight title by defeating Ukrainian Baranchik, I believe it was, who had a win over Navarrete. And in a great performance. Took the belt off him. That's how you take belts. That's how you win belts. It's like, all right, cool. This kid is, besides being an Olympian medalist, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, right offhand, and he's becoming, these are the kind of guys, like you mentioned, Abdullah Mason, right? These are the kind of guys that's like, okay, boxing is in their hands, and this is the next generation. Like, okay, it's in good hands. These guys are going to be something, right? And that's not to say that Keyshawn won't still become something still, but it doesn't help when, his first title defense in his home state, I think home city, as a matter of fact, as well, but home state, definitely Virginia, Norfolk, Virginia. He not only it comes in heavy, but if I'm not mistaken, the offer was given to his opponent De Los Santos, asking him, "Hey, do you want to take the fight anyway?" Of course, Keyshawn is going to be fined X amount of dollars or whatever percentage from his purse. There's a certain purse amount or percentage is going to go to De Los Santos, his opponent, and something happened there where I think De Los Santos said, "No, let's do this." Something about an additional weight, something about additional money, and basically they couldn't come to an agreement. So De Los Santos and his team said, "Nah, fuck it, we ain't fighting. We're not gonna get Devin Haney here and take an ass open for 12 rounds and think
Well,
that the money's gonna take
well, what also happened was when they're talking about the Devin Haney situation, he said when he seen Davis come in for I believe the second weigh-in
mm,
to try to make it. I believe it was the second one. Could have been the first. That he wasn't sweating at all. That he felt he
he
didn't
didn't
even
try.
try.
Mm.
And then he started dancing on the scale. And when he started dancing, that's what made him think of Ryan Garcia setting up Devin Haney coming in 3 pounds heavier. and then knocking him
Drinking on
around
the
the ring.
scale, whatever it is he was drinking.
Yeah. So supposedly Keyshawn was dancing on his second weigh-in. Didn't look like he was sweating. And hey, I'm sorry, but Ryan kind of ruined it. I would have pulled my fighter out too. We're not. Look at what it's done to Devin, dude. Devin is he's the bitch of boxing now. And I know the lawsuit didn't help him, but you guys aren't understanding the lawsuit either. The lawsuit had a lot more to do with the cheating and the breach of contract, right? Now, obviously, when they re-signed to take that fight on, that kind of took the breach of contract out. That's why I think they went with the assault case, and I do feel that was the dumb part of that court case was making it an assault case. But I think in boxing, with the way social media is, look, you will see a fighter probably get sued again if someone ever reacts the way Ryan Garcia did and goes straight social media with everything. If you build your own case, why the fuck not? Maybe if they didn't take, and I'm not even going to get into the lawsuit, but Devin Haney it changed his career. Thinking he was manning up and taking that fight on anyways, so the fans could get their fight. It bit him in his ass. So I'm glad that Sampson pulled his fighter. It was sad to see how far Keyshawn fell off. Look, you guys, this started earlier in the week. I don't know if you guys seen his interview with Andre Ward, but Andre Ward interviewed Keyshawn Davis, and they talked about his failed drug test. He had a weed. He tested dirty for weed in one of his fights. Got canceled.
It was real quick. It was actually the guy who beat his brother on the undercard of that fucking paper on the card from Saturday, which is
Abright or something like that.
Yeah,
Abright.
Yeah. We'll get into that, of course, shortly afterwards. But basically, he beats him and then tests positive for marijuana or something, and then that win gets overturned. But go ahead.
Got you. So Andre's like, Keyshawn, come on, a dirty test. What are you doing? You know what Keyshawn's response was? Yeah, that was my third time. You know what I mean? That was my third time. Your third time? You've done drugs 3 times on the week of fights? It's not a good look, bro. It's not a good look. They say weed's not addicting, but this is your third time? He goes, yeah, you get away with it once, you know what I'm saying? You get away with it twice, you know what I'm saying? Like, bro, shut the fuck up. Will someone shut his fucking microphone off?
Where's this PR guy? Get us the PR guy in here. Fuck.
Bro, so then Andre is like, you see Andre too, Miguel, I swear to God, Andre's like, Keyshawn, like he's trying to mentally tell him to shut the fuck up, right? Can we just stick? That's like you getting busted for robbing a bank, bro, and you're like, yeah, it was my third bank I robbed. You know what I'm saying? Get away with it one time. You're fucking stupid. So, dude, it looked like Andre was mentally trying to tell him to shut up. So then he goes, Andre, I know, Keyshawn, what'd you learn, man? What'd you learn? You want to know what his response was, Miguel? Got tighten up. Got tighten up. What the fuck is Miguel? You gotta tighten it. You gotta tighten up what? What you pulled off 2 times in a row? Or you gotta tighten up your sports life? Like what are we tightening up, bro? Oh, it was a bad interview. Terrible interview. Terrible fucking interview. So that's how the week started. Now we know Keyshawn Davis does drugs during fight week. He's done it 3 times. And I know it's just weed, you guys, but if it's illegal and you're not showing
substance, regardless,
you're not showing the fucking discipline to stay off of it for 7 days or 3 months, however, whatever the length that you're supposed to be clean. You're not showing that discipline. You're making millions of dollars. You're a top athlete, right? It's just a bad look. It's not a good start to the fight week. Then he comes in overweight. and he comes in so much overweight. I was like, dude, this is a fuck you moment. Someone pissed off Davis. I don't know what Bob Arum did. I don't know. I'm blaming Bob. I'm blaming Top Rank. I'm like, see, this is why they're losing fighters. They probably guaranteed them money. Now they're not coming up with them. I don't know what it is. But to me, Keyshawn Davis had a fuck you moment when he came in a whole division higher. That wasn't, oh man, the scale was broken. Sorry, not 4 pounds. Just like Ryan, not 3 pounds. Is that like a, oh shoot, shucks. Did I miss that?
There's something wrong with the scale. Like, no. That's not the scale, homie.
Yeah. So then he has that moment. Then the fight gets canceled all the way through. Now it's just a loss. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's a total disaster. So it's like, damn, Keyshawn. Then here comes fight night. You see him there. I'm sorry, I'll turn on my light here soon, you guys. I don't know why my light isn't on, but then fight time comes. You see him smiling in the back. You know, it's like
eating popcorn. They give him a bag, and he's just fucking. Oh, okay,
I was gonna get there. Yeah, no, it was not a good look the whole time, dude. It kind of looked like he was playing to the camera too, eating the popcorn. Like he goes like, "I'm fun, you fuck." Just starting. I was like, oh, I already know what he's doing right there. Camera's on him. He's like, I don't give a fuck. And then after the fight.
Oh,
what?
by the way, real quick, I'm gonna want to read this here real quick from Keith Idek. So this is what I read on Keith Idek here. Of course, he says the two sides initially agreed to move forward with the fight. Keyshawn Davis wouldn't have been able to weigh in more than 149.5 pounds at the second day weigh-in at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday. De Los Santos and his handlers later prioritized safety and decided not to go through with the fight. They hadn't come to an agreement on Davis's financial penalty by that point. So that ultimately led to Edwin De Los Santos still receiving his fight purse. So he still got paid. I believe it was like $400K. I think it was. I forgot how much it was that it was actually paid for the fight. But I believe because they're in Virginia, there was some sort of rule or law or something that he basically still gets his purse. So De Los Santos got paid anyway. Didn't go through with the fight, which is ideal, right? Because that's kind of the dilemma that you have, right? You're like, damn, if I don't fight, well, I don't get paid, and my whole training camp went to shit. All the money that I spent into that goes to shit. But if, according to this law here, this rule in Virginia, where he still gets his pay, and it's like, well, fuck it, cool. Then I don't get to risk getting my ass whooped by a fucking heavier guy, and I still get, my fight purse. Then absolutely, it's a great deal. So that was an ideal circumstance to a fucked up situation for De Los Santos, because at this point, they were saying, hey, let's go ahead and agree that, Keyshawn can't weigh in more than 149.5 on day 2 of the day up for the fight. And it seemed as though everybody was on accordance, but at that point, De Los Santos people were like, hold on, we're going to get paid anyway? Nah, fuck it. Let's not risk getting his ass beat, because that's the dilemma that fighters come across in these situations, is that they risk not getting paid. In this case, it did actually happen. But leading to the fight, that did move Abdullah Mason's fight with Nakatila, with Jeremiah Nakatila, to the main event status.
But I can't agree. I can't agree that just because he got paid was why they pulled out. I think there's a significant argument to what happened to Devin Haney, and this is going to be the future of boxing. You're going to see a lot of managers telling their guy, no, we're not going. The dude's 4 pounds over fucking weight. That's a division, Miguel. That's a whole division over.
But wouldn't that make the decision a little bit easier? You don't think that would make the decision like, oh shit, we're still going to get paid? Cool. Then I won't risk my ass, because I would have risked my ass for the payday.
You might see if the industry stays close, you might see Dos Santos get blackballed for a while. He might get penalized where they say, we're not fucking with you now, kid. You went and took that easy way out, ran with our money. Nah, I'm going to make some phone calls. You are not going to get a fight here for a few years. Right. So maybe he made 400 grand. Maybe he made a lot of enemies doing it. I'm going to say, I think the Devin Haney effect hurt boxing way more than an easy payday, because his manager, Samson
he's got, I can't pronounce the last name.
Lipinwitz, whatever the fuck is that?
I can't pronounce the last name.
You know,
Samson. We call him Samson.
Yeah, Samson. You guys know who I'm talking about. That man's an old timer. he's got a lot of connections. I don't think he's out trying to rob people of 400K.
Mm.
You know, because that's what they're. It's a great rule that they have, but it's one of those rules like, all right, it is. It's like this is what my union would say. It's a rule, you know. But Andrew, if you go through with it, I can't guarantee you I can find you any more work because your boss is going to call the next boss and the next boss, and right. So you have to make decisions on, do I want to burn this bridge? I think Samson he knows about those bridges. I think this is I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that this had totally to do with how you might turn into a fucking social media meme. You go through with the fight. You know what I'm saying? You get knocked out, get knocked around 4 or 5 times. Your guy can't stand up to any of the punches because the dude was cheating from the very beginning. Never tried to make the weight. And people, got to tell you, these pounds mean something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these 3 pounds overweight, and you were training to be 3 pounds overweight, training to be 4 pounds over. That's going to be a significant difference. This isn't, I'm a few ounces. This isn't Navarrete. Like I said, man, if Navarrete never would have made that fucking weight limit, I wouldn't have knocked 3 ounces. Come on. That's a mistake. That's I fucked up. You know what I mean? I don't know what he did the night before, but he fucked up. 3 pounds, 4 pounds is not a fuck up. This is intentional. So, and I think in the future, a lot more managers and promoters that are looking out for the safety of their fighters should pull out of fights where someone comes in even 2 pounds overweight. Yeah.
All right. And then that does lead us to the fight. Is that what you're going to come up with?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that lead us to the fight, right? So that fight gets removed from the card entirely. And when I first heard that the fight was going to get canceled, usually when the main event goes, sometimes you're like, oh shit, does that mean that the whole card is gone? Thankfully, no, the whole card has stayed intact. It was just the main event that was removed. And the Jeremiah Nakatila and Abdullah Mason got moved up to the main event, which was a good fight on its own. But, I kind of feel for Abdullah Mason. This kind of like was thrown on his lap, right? He's like, oh shit, now I'm the main event. And then it gets overshadowed by what happens in back door behind the scenes. ESPN was able to capture some of it, of course, but it was primarily and I'm sorry that I can't pronounce his name because I'm terrible at pronouncing names here. But this young man, right, who beats Keyshawn's brother, right now. If I can pull him up here real quick, he actually fought Keyshawn himself. If I can, pronounce his last name. Let's see, where's that? Here we go.
Albright.
Albright. Okay.
Albright?
Yeah, but his first name is like Nair or something. It's like Nahir. So he himself, a couple years back, I think 2023, fought Keyshawn Davis and lost, but that fight or the victory for Davis was overruled or overturned because he did test positive for a banned substance, which is marijuana. So now he has that blemish on his record to this dude. And then this dude comes in and whoops his brother's ass, And I believe there was the fight was at 140, and I think at some point I think it was Timothy Bradley that was saying this during the fight that his brother, Keyshawn's brother, which I get, there's like 3 of them, so I'm trying to remember which one's which. Keon, I think, is this one. Was already planning to move up to 147, but he ended up staying at 140, and maybe that's one of the reasons why he looked so terrible in this fight, because he was trying to force himself to stay at 140. But regardless, he got fucking spanked, and that's not to say that Albright didn't come out of the fight unscathed, because he most definitely did. You can see it on his face, right? It was a tough victory for him. He earned it. One of the scorecards actually had it a draw still. They had 5 rounds to 5. I don't, you don't want to remove yourself from the actual fight itself, but damn it, these fucking judges again. Yeah, again, they're in Norfolk, Virginia, but somehow Davis got himself, a draw on one of those scorecards, but it was overruled by the other 2, so it was a majority decision. Albright ends up getting the victory, and then afterwards, in the back, he according to him at least, gets jumped by the Keyshawn or the Davis brothers, DB3, I think they call themselves, and apparently they were all somehow involved in this, and from what I understand, there was an altercation in the locker room first that eventually spilled out to the hallway, which is where the cameras were able to capture what was going on, and everybody it was all we saw punches being thrown by pretty much everyone, right? Who knows who started it? According to Albright, it was obviously the Davis brothers, but for all we know, it was maybe Albright who instigated it. We don't know, but according to him, he was saying that he got jumped by these guys, right? And when the cameras got back there. There was Keyshawn's girl with his baby and a stroller, and he had to pull the stroller back, and they took the baby out of there, and it was just a fucking mess. And it did not help. Their stock dropped so much after this, and it sucks because again, this is one of Top Rank's top prospects and a former champion. Now he lost his belt on the scale, and the guy who we anticipated was going to carry, the Top Rank name along with Abdullah Mason and those guys to continue the Top Rank name and basically the future of boxing in their hands. And when we see them act like this, we're like, fuck, these guys are not ready. Andrew, what did you make of this when you saw that shit was going on behind the scenes and in the hallway? What was your first thought?
It's one of the saddest collapses I've seen of a prospect here in boxing in a while. Now, granted, it wasn't Edwin Valero type collapse, but it just makes you think, who was the guy that we seen win the title? The one that had Jesus Saves or whatever on his back and had his high school band playing, and it was a sold out crowd, and he's praying, praising Jesus as he's walking in. What happened to that guy? Where'd that guy go? Now all of a sudden you're walking in locker rooms trying to being a thug, hanging out in the hallways acting like a thug. Don't like that you went and grabbed your kid immediately after doing it, pulling off an assault. That looked I know you're a fighter. I know you're all brave. You're brave. That looked kind of cowardly, dude. You don't go and pull off, try to jump someone and then you're like, where's my baby? Then why are you holding the kid? Aren't you about to throw down? What if they come back? What if they bring their team? What are you going to do? Hold your kid as a shield? Kid shouldn't have been in Keyshawn's hands. That was weird that Keyshawn went and grabbed his kid like that. You should have had if anything, have your wife, your mom, all the women protect the baby. You stand in front of them while this thing gets dissolved, while we figure out what's going on. But for you to grab the kid after putting hands on another man, it looks kind of cowardly. Just saying, on the streets, it's not a good look. But so, nah, man. Dude, it was just all bad from beginning of the week when you admitted that you were doing drugs, obviously during fight week.
Yeah, previous fight weeks.
Yeah. And then missing weight and then pulling off an assault. Look, they're gonna suspend him, but the cool thing, not the cool thing, what is it? The loophole that boxing has is, okay, so he'll be suspended in what, North Fork, Virginia? He won't be able to fight back at that gym, that high school arena that they were at. Cool. He's fighting in Vegas next time. He's fighting in Saudi Arabia. You know what I mean? Like that, so the suspension that they're going to lay down probably don't mean shit. It would be a Ryan Garcia type moment. But, does Turki want him in Riyadh? Right? Can you pull off these kind of stunts over there? Probably not. Right? So it's just not a good look. Keyshawn was he was being one of the good guys. Hey, you know what? Maybe he learned from Andre Ward and all these other guys that say the good guy doesn't make money. Got to be the bad guy, right? Maybe that's what Keyshawn's doing here. I didn't like it. There's no room for it. Now look, granted, Timothy Bradley's such a tool now. I swear to God, this guy is such a tool. Like when they brought up the fight in the background, did you see Timothy was like, I would rather talk about Abdullah Mason as his rice. It's like, bro, what the fuck? An assault just happened in the back. You know what I'm saying? He's like, I know what, Abdullah Mason's brothers wouldn't have done that. Wow, there's some good kids. Like, oh, fuck it, Timothy. I swear to God. Yeah, that guy just sees something else. He's total top rank, He's top rank all the way. But best thing they could do is offer this guy a fight with either a rematch with Keyshawn or something. Let's get the assault thing taken care of. From the video on the outside, I gotta be real. It looks like his team throws the first punch. Yes,
Wait,
Keyshawn
whose
Dave,
team? Whose team?
Albright's.
Oh, okay, okay, all right.
Yes, Keyshawn and them rush him, but it looks like some dude in purple is the one who starts chunking first.
Yeah,
Now,
which I think is Albright's brother, by the way.
all right, there you go. Yeah, and it clearly that purple jacket ain't gonna help you, bro. You can see it. I'm telling you, that's where you fucked up. You can see that out of everybody. It's the dude in the purple, but whatever.
Like, I know it's Pride Month, but all right, take it easy. Take it easy.
You wanted to be all bright, colorful. Now you're standing out, dude.
See what happens.
Um, it's what happened in the locker room that we don't know about. Now, if they come out with video of these two rushing him and the fucking one of them headbutts slumming all, nah, man, I don't know what happened in that locker room. But what happens in that hallway, it just doesn't look like it's Keyshawn's team that initiates the first blow. They might initiate the conflict by rushing up and, hey, what's up, what's up? But that ain't against the law. Punching people in the face is against the law, and it also.
What would Albright does? What would he have done? You think he's just gonna let the dude like rush him up on him and not do anything about it?
Well, yes, absolutely, bro. There's security everywhere. There's no reason to start throwing blows. I mean, you could go face to face. You'd be like, "What?" He's a boxer, man, right? So as long as he's on point, he should be fine, right? He's gonna block. He's gonna slip. He's a boxer. This is what he's trained for. So we're not going to punch first. We're going to stay cool. We're going to stay calm. And if shit goes down, then shit goes down. You take a punch, you're going to take a punch. You're going to throw something back. That's all that's happening. But for you just to get rushed and be like, oh, no, fuck that shit. Well, now you look like the bad guy because that's not. But granted, people, I don't know what happened before that. 5 minutes before that, they might have rushed his whole family. I really don't know, right? I don't know how chaotic the back scene got in that locker room. Maybe his brother was already livid knowing that they had hit him in front of his mother or his wife. Or you get what I'm saying? They went in and headbutted him in front of his family. That's a whole nother level, right? Then you might not be thinking right at that time. So I don't know what happened before. But on the video that ESPN showed us and what's been circulating around the web, kind of looks like you could see the guy in the purple's throwing blows first. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And Keyshawn better hope that's what that video shows.
Right. Because Keyshawn himself has said it, you know, they've interviewed him since, and he's like, I've seen clips of him saying like, no, we didn't jump anybody. But the brothers did actually, have given an apology. Although granted it was online specifically, but they eventually apologized, right? And this is what it shows here. This is Calvin Davis with Keon and Keyshawn as well. I guess they're tagged on this on behalf of DB3, which is what they call their crew, I guess. Davis boys, I guess, 3, like the Bee Gees. We apologize for conducting ourselves in that way. Tension was high and emotions got the best of us, and we'll be better and more professional with and it's more professional. Okay, clearly this guy doesn't use a punctuation. We'll be back and better and with more professional. I guess I meant saying professionalism. It's ups and downs with this that we don't take what we come with it. Gosh, that's the guy saying. All right. With that being said,
at least you know they wrote it. That's
nice.
Yes.
At least we know they fucking did wrote it themselves, right? I mean, Jesus Christ. It was clearly written by these gentlemen here.
We be sorry.
Yeah. We be sorry. Shit happened and we fucked up. With that being said, we didn't jump anybody, but keep believing the media, that twisted narrative. Part of the game's that's part of the game. We will regroup, but it will be damn it. But it will be for us and not our people. Shout out to the MF Juice Man, whatever the fuck that means. But anyway, so he's coming out. God, these guys. But we get the gist of what he's trying to say, or maybe in his mind he did actually say. He comes out and apologizes, right? Apologizing on behalf of himself and his brothers for the unpleasant scene. But he reiterates, we didn't jump anybody. So that definitely sounds right. I mean, again, it's a he said, she said, or he said, he said, he said, he said. It was like a lot of guys in the mix, but it definitely sounds like we're at this point, we're hearing 2 people from Keyshawn's group saying, no, dude, we didn't jump anybody. And only Albright himself saying, yeah, I was jumped. So we don't know what happened prior to it, but it definitely doesn't help that Keyshawn and his peeps were involved in it. On top of missing the weight, the fight falling through, and then this going, it's just like the third strike, bro. So I don't know what kind of repercussions come after this because again, this happened outside of the ring. Are there going to be people pressing charges? I don't know. Probably not. Usually that doesn't happen amongst boxers, at least, but it's possible. And we don't know if there's going to be any sort of fines or anything like that, or maybe even Top Rank saying, "Hey, suspension, homie. We're not just going to let that shit fly." We haven't heard anything like that yet. I don't even know if that's even a thing. But I'm sure there's going to be some sort of consequences, some sort of repercussions for this incident outside of the ring. And I think it was Bernardo Asuna who was announcing it as it was happening actually afterwards. So it sucks that this has to happen. Of course, obviously this is the fight game and stuff occasionally does spill outside of the ring as much as we don't want it to. But when tempers flare and things like this pop off, I mean, if you're a trained fighter, what you're going to do? You're going to fucking throw hands, right? It's just how it is. So it sucks that it's happened. From the Davis brothers, they're coming out with an apology saying, "Hey, my bad, but it wasn't us who dropped the ball." But the fact that everything else happened before then, the missing weight, the fight falling through, it definitely does not look good on. Actually, neither Top Rank. I think I read that Top Rank had to refund approximately like 2,000 tickets.
Yeah.
Fuck, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, well, I guess Top Rank saved some money to some degree because they didn't have to pay fucking Keyshawn. But it's like, God, you don't want it to happen like this. We're rapidly approaching.
Sold out arena, bro.
Oh yeah,
Sold out arena. He blew. Yeah.
So definitely a major L for Keyshawn and his bros, on top of the L that his bro experienced inside of the ring. I don't know if we're going to get, Albright Davis 2 or 3, whatever. He's going to have to go through the whole fucking gambit of the Davis brothers at this point. But obviously, we're not going to see Keyshawn at 135 any longer. We anticipate him going up prior to this fight, which I actually I thought you were going to mention earlier. But during the press conferences leading up to this card, Abdullah Mason and Keyshawn Davis were talking to each other on stage, right?
Yes.
Right? So I was like, "Oh shit, okay, cool. Maybe this is next." Well,
no, but you know what, Miguel? That was another part of the decline. The way he tries to punk the young man. The dude's just starting out. Yeah, you're right. That was a part of the decline that you're seeing the whole week. It was like, why do you do that out of nowhere? Yeah. So what are you gonna do about it? Or what did he tell him? Like, what are you gonna do? Or something. Mason was like, I don't know, fight for the title if I win. Like, what the fuck? Like, why? It's nothing personal, bro. And then, yeah, you're right. Even in that moment, Keyshawn didn't shine there. He kind of looked like a bully. Yeah.
Yeah. And when we see things like that, it kind of makes us doubt their story. When we see stuff that says, "Oh, we didn't jump them," now we're like, you kind of have a track record of showing otherwise, homie. Like, I don't know if I can believe what you're saying. Yeah, granted, all the Davis brothers are going to have the same story. No, we didn't jump anybody. But when we see this stuff happen, and then that little altercation, that they had on stage with Abdullah Mason and himself, it kind of makes you doubt, and again, we don't know what happened before. So maybe they are telling the truth. It just looks bad from the outside, at least based off of what he's displayed. We're only going off of what you're showing us, bro. And when you're showing us this stuff on stage, damn near punking, almost trying to bully Abdullah Mason, it's like, damn, take it easy, And when we see these apologies that we want to, give them the benefit of the doubt, maybe they are very sincere, but I don't know if I can believe the fact that they weren't jumping his dudes, when we see that kind of stuff happen. So major L for them. For Top Rank, it's one of the stars. It's kind of like when Berlanga was with him and Berlanga was biting that motherfucker in the ring. It's like, oh shit, no, bro. It's not just you. It's as how bad you made your promotion look as well. But clearly we're not going to get Davis at 135 anymore. He's going to move up to 140. Chances are. And what happens there? Well, we don't know, right? Maybe he'll be the next, bad shit hot motherfucker at 140, but I suspect there's going to be some sort of repercussions. There's going to be some sort of consequences for his conduct and their conduct, I should say, outside of the ring.
He's got a lot. And one more thing before we get off of it, he's got a lot riding on the camera that was shot inside of that locker room. That's going to tell us a lot about.
Was there?
I gotta think that somebody has video of what went on. They're all recording when the guys are coming in, right? When
Mm,
he's
mhm.
celebrating, he won the fight. He's got to be hugging people. Everyone's happy. Bam, two dudes come in through the door. I got to think there's a camera rolling. So that's going to tell us a lot about Keyshawn Davis. If
Mm.
this camera comes back and they go in, one dude's headbutting them, the other guy's firing on them. These guys are total, they're liars. The whole Jesus saves and the whole praying in the ring and all that was all for show, man. He's another Ryan Garcia, right? And behind the scenes, you're smoking weed and taking, cuts to pass tests. How are you passing those tests? Ooh, right? No one's asking
Right.
that.
I know exactly. I mean, I don't even think Andre. I mean, like you said, Andre tried to tell him to shut the hell up, right?
He was like,
Because I mean,
Keyshawn,
because
Keyshawn.
if it was anybody else and Keyshawn flat out said, "Oh yeah, I've done it 3 times before or twice," and it's like anybody else would have been like, "Oh, how did you get away with that?" That would have been the next logical question. But Andre trying to look out for his homies, like, duh, 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 duh. Like knock it off already, homie. But
Fucking A.
yeah, exactly. And the whole thing, and I hate it. It looked so. I'm trying to think of the right word, but it was childish, but not childish as in children per se, but as in like high school type shit. Like they're at their hometown, right? At their home, almost like they're in high school, and the visiting team comes in, right, and it's like beating their ass. So then like they start trouble back in the fucking bleachers or some shit. That's the way it felt like. It's like,
Yeah.
come on, we're trying to really. This is what we're gonna do now. And then of course them being in their hometown, it gave that vibe so much more. I'm like, God damn, these guys look like they're just fucking bullies. They're just trying to show them, like, yeah, this is our territory, homie. You don't fucking
Right.
come to our school and beat us. Oh, God damn. But anyway,
Why did you cheat on me? Well, it was actually my third time I cheated on you. Yeah, it's just not a good answer. In no circumstances is admitting 2 other times you did
yeah.
something wrong a good thing, a good answer.
Yeah,
Jesus.
like I cheated on you 3 more times, but I gotta tighten it up. You know what I'm saying? Gotta make sure it doesn't happen again. I gotta tighten it up. So I'm saying, gotta delete the messages on the phone. Like, oh, okay, that's enough, Keyshawn, please. Uh, but on that note, as I said, he's gonna most likely be up at 140. Who's the man at 140 right now? Mr. One Teofimo Lopez, and he is exactly who we're going to talk about next. Teofimo Lopez, welcome to the show. Come on down. Apparently, it was in a matter of days announced that we're going to get Teofimo Lopez versus Devin Haney. Supposedly, it was going to be August. And as I hear from, I believe Dan Rafel said, it might have even landed on the same day of the Tank Davis and Lamont Roach fight, but in Saudi Arabia. It was supposed to be in Saudi Arabia. That's what we heard. As far as I hear, and again, according to Dan Rafel, everybody seemed to have agreed with the terms, with the money, with the destination, with the location, with the catch weight of 145 pounds. For whatever the fuck reason, Teofimo backed out. It looks bad. It looks like a duck. If you hear him give you the explanation, he'll tell you that Turki and all of them are corrupt after apologizing for saying he got fired. I'm not even sure what to believe what comes out of Teofimo's mouth anymore. But at the end of the day, we're not going to get Teofimo Lopez versus Devin Haney, at least not right now, because as of right now, the fight is completely off, even though it sounded as though all the terms were agreed upon, and now we don't have a fight. I don't know if Teofimo has another fight lined up. It doesn't sound like it, at least not with that one that would possibly give him the kind of payday that a Devin Haney fight will give him. I kind of feel for Devin to a certain degree. He was supposed to have this rematch with Ryan Garcia that basically has now fallen through because Garcia's lost to Rolly, and then he has surgery on his hand, right? Ryan Garcia.
We got to talk. We'll talk about that right after.
Yeah,
yeah. We'll talk about
and
that.
then even further than that, Oscar De La Hoya saying that he wants, Ryan to be out for a little bit because of his shoulder or some shit. It's like, oh god damn it, now what the fuck? But we'll get to that hand surgery momentarily. But now we have no fight. So it goes from, holy shit, there's talks about this fight. And again, it's not like it's a fight that I'm like, oh, god damn it, we have to get it. No, but it would have been good because, when we hear them previously being at lightweight at one point being called the new lightweight kings, et cetera, the fights don't happen there. Okay, fine. Maybe they happen at 140. Maybe they happen at 147, but they happen still in their prime, still when they matter. Now, when these fights fall through, it just basically deflates us. We're so motivated and we're so excited for these kinds of fights to take place because this would have been a killer fucking fight. I would have been down. Yeah, so Devin didn't look that great against Ramirez. I mean, he won, but as far as like his performance go, wasn't all that great. But I mean, for the fans' eyes, I should say, aesthetically, it wasn't. But I still would have been down for this fight. I totally would have been down for this fight. As a matter of fact, I think Teofimo would have won. I still think Teofimo can fucking whoop his ass. But Teo back down. What do you make of this, Andrew? What could possibly be the fucking reason? I mean, if you hear Teofimo say it, it's the corruption of Turkey and all this other crap, right? But come on, what the hell's going on?
Yes, I believe some of Turki Ali Sheik's actions made Teofimo question if he was going to Riyadh with the fair handshake, with the fair shot at leaving there with a decision victory. Remember, this is a man who we see went into a corner and literally said, "You're losing by 2 rounds to a fighter." Told him the scorecard. Can't do shit like that, right? We seen what happened to Teofimo during the buildup of the triple fight in New York. They don't announce him as undisputed. They don't announce him as 2-time undisputed. He had a better resume than the whole fucking
everybody on stage.
Yeah. And they totally look pat. Like, remember Teofimo's calling him out. "Oh, that's what we're doing. Oh, we're not going to announce me how I should be announced." Oh, and then they fucking asked, who was it? Barbosa a question. And then they don't even ask the same question to Lopez. And he goes, "Wait a minute. Wait, so I'm not answering questions now? I can't answer that question." Bro, he's seen what was going on, right? He sees he's the odd man out. Top rank don't got really any power anymore. They're not putting, I'm sorry, the mob is gone. There is no, Bob Arum can't call his Las Vegas buddies anymore to get any movements happening, right? He's got no political pull out there like he had with the governor and the mayor of Las Vegas. He had all the pull with to make anything happen. Even had a fighter cleared with a fucking metal plate in his head, right? These are the things that Bob used to be able to do. You know what I'm saying? They're like, "Bob, he has a metal plate. Hey, remember money got you elected, you fuck?" He's like, "Fucking Bob, are you serious? All right, let him fight. Let him fight. Yeah, that's right. 15,000 Filipinos came." Remember Bob called that shit out on TV, eh? Yeah, the numbers of Filipinos that were there for the governor. But whatever. That's the pool he used to have. He don't have that anymore. So Teofimo's kind of up there by himself, right? The bad part about Lopez pulling out is, bro, do you really think you're the first guy that went into a fight with the unfair handshake? Right? This is where you believe in yourself, man. This is where you go in, you get yourself some points that shouldn't be on the board. Right? You got to go for a knockdown. You got to go for, a clear victory in the last 4 rounds. You got to get all those rounds. This is where you push yourself to do better, to be better. Trust me, guys have won that had their backs on the wall in boxing before. When they knew damn well to promote, I think Bernard Hopkins against Trinidad, one of the biggest ones, right? Bernard said, "Man, they were all against me. They all fucking hated me," right? But he won. Still got that victory. Pulled it out. Take it out of the judges' hands. And I'm totally with you. Lopez could have done that. Haney's nothing special. Haney's a good fighter, but he's not a fucking, once in a lifetime kind of talent that's coming around here. So it's a bad look that he pulled out because he thinks he wasn't going to get a fair shake.
And why let it get that far? Why agree to all the terms? At least that's what everyone's saying, and all the insiders, that he agreed to the weight, the date, the location, all this shit, and then backs out. It's like, why even go that far? If you really legitimately believe that, don't even start.
It could have been during the negotiations where he's seen it was going to be the same shit, right? Maybe he went through negotiations hoping Turki was going to throw him a bone, and he never throws him one. He just, at the end of it, he feels, him and his dad felt like, you know what? They're not accepting us as the champ. They're acting like you're the fucking plan B. And, Haney versus Garcia is the fight they really want. Right? So maybe that's what it was. Maybe he gave Turki a shot at negotiations to work a fair deal. At the end of it, they didn't like what they were offered or what they were feeling. Which I gotta say, with the way Turki acts and the way he comes off sometimes. I mean, we know the religious thing is big. And we know Teofimo's been real religious, right? About who he sides with. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't Haney just switch religions about a year ago? Now all of a sudden it's Assalamu alaikum, Assalamu alaikum, right? I'm just being real.
Yeah.
Didn't he just do that? And then, if I'm not mistaken, I think Teofimo kind of clowns him on the stage about that whole switch. He was like, "Come on, bro!" Like, hey, when Haney went up there and first said it, yeah, I think there's a little shot. You'll see Teofimo kind of throws a poke at him about switching religions. Yeah, but there's that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, right, he's kissing the little ass. Lopez sees that. You're sucking up to the boss and you're changing your religion now for him. And it doesn't mean that that's why Haney did it. It's just, right?
It's the timing, and you're like, hold on, it makes it question it. So we're not going to say that is the reason, but it most definitely raises the question.
Yeah.
Well, that sucks because now we're not going to get the fight. Is there any saving this fight? Is it possible that the fight still happens? For whatever reason, Teofimo comes back and says, "Hey, I'm sorry. This time for real." And his Turki's like, "Oh, brother, no, don't worry. Let's do it."
Lopez is a good enough talent that if Turki Ali Sheik really wanted to see how far he could take the kid, yes, I think there's something to work out here with him because the talent's that good. If he was Jose Ramirez, no, then they probably just leave him alone and then never talk to him again. But he's not. And it looked like Turki's response to this all was some things are better not to respond to.
Mm-hmm.
So it looked like Turki already knew about what was going on and just didn't want to hear about, didn't want to talk about it, at least for right now. And Haney was also caught saying, when talked about this fight losing this fight, it falling out, he's like disappointed. Yeah, we're gonna look for anyone who's out there. I had this fall through, I had Garcia fall through. We'll see, but doesn't mean I won't fight Lopez. So something. As soon as he said that, I was like, all right, well, what's going on? Because now you're still, like you just said, you're still kind of putting it out there that Lopez is still in the plans, or they're negotiating still might be going on. I don't know. Maybe Lopez doesn't want to go to Riyadh. Maybe he wants to fight in America or something like that, where if Ali Sheik, says, you know what, fine, we'll put the fight in America, then the fight's back on. Maybe it's just the travel he doesn't want to do. Who knows? It sucks for Lopez because, he's getting a long list of these dropouts now, right? Where
yes.
At some point, you were a great talent, but you're also your worst enemy because, man, your resume is good, but how good would it be if you had some of these fucking canceled fights on your resume, So hopefully he can, hopefully Lopez can pick up, do a little bit better at the negotiating table and trying to get some of these locked in, or be a little bit more honest with the fans. Maybe come out and tell the fans, look, I didn't like the situation I was in, but I went through it anyways. Then this has happened and I'm out. Instead of, I ain't gonna tell y'all shit. I'm out here moving. I'm out here pushing. Whoever wants to support me. Fuck the rest. Like, just seems so like it sounded like a duck. Whenever you come out with the whole, I ain't gonna tell you why I did it. Bro, all right, well then you were just fucking.
Well, the other fucking people are telling you exactly why. They're being straightforward and telling you, and you're the one that's saying like, no, y'all believe whatever you want to believe. Like, okay, we're gonna believe whatever the fuck we're gonna believe, and we believe it was a duck.
Yeah, and yes, and then come support me. It's like, bro, we want to support you, but when are you gonna take on the real opposition? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's some guys out here that are straight gunning for your resume. You know what I mean? They're there. The Garcias, the Haneys, the Boots. All these big time names that are around you. We got to lock one of these in. So Josh Taylor was a good fight. It was a great fight. Put him on the map, but it's not the Garcias and the Haneys and the Boot Ennises. Those fights are going to really get you some recognition. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Josh Taylor. I don't even know how many PBC fans even know who Josh Taylor was. You know.
Yeah. And it kind of leaves everybody kind of in limbo because who else it would Teofimo fight other than, Haney or a big name or Garcia that we're going to talk about momentarily, or even Haney himself. Who the fuck else? And I mean, I'm sure there's options probably more options for Haney than Garcia or than fucking Teofimo at this point. Because if again he's building Teofimo, I'm saying, is building this track record of pulling out of fucking fights, who's going to want to start the negotiating with him? And if any little thing is going to trigger him to be like, oh gosh, I don't like this, fuck this, I'm out of here. It's like, oh dude, come on, what the hell? So I'm sure there were some things in the contract that maybe even Haney himself didn't want, but he's like, all right, this is part of the negotiation, and there's going to be some sort of compromise. And if it means that we're going to do this instead of that, then so be it. Because if I remember correctly, I remember hearing that Haney wanted it to be at 147 because his last fight with Ramirez was kind of like a middle ground. He was going to slowly move up, and he fought him, I think, at 145, 146, and then he was anticipating his next fight being at 147, and could have been with Teofimo here. But for whatever reason, that wasn't done. They stuck with 145. I'm sure maybe Haney didn't want it at 145. Rather, he wanted it at a full 147, but he had a compromise, right? So it wasn't like everything was in his favor. At least it doesn't seem. We don't know the ins and outs of it, but what we've heard, it looked like that was the case. I don't know who. It most certainly is not going to be Ryan Garcia, right? Any one of these guys, because from what we've heard, it looks, and I believe you saw a picture of the stitches on Ryan Garcia's hand. It looks like home dude had surgery on, what was it, his right hand, I believe it was. And you can see that he has some stitches on there. I'm going to go ahead and read this here real quick. Prior to the fight, Garcia did reveal that he had been dealing with a hand injury, which later required surgery. So he's officially had the surgery, right? This setback compounded by a lingering shoulder issue, prompting his promoter, Oscar De La Hoya, to advise him to take the remainder of the year off to heal both physically and mentally. So there's a pretty good chance that we're not going to see Ryan for the rest of the year, and we are talking about 6 months at this point. In addition to the hand, it's going to be several weeks, a couple of months at least, before he can start, swinging with that hand again with a little more confidence. And then on top of that, his shoulder. And I don't know if it didn't specify which specific shoulder, but if it was from the same hand, goddamn, it's his shoulder and his hand, because that's the one that he throws the fucking hook with, or one of the hooks, I should say. So I don't know if we're going to see him, before the end of the year. But what do you make of this? On top of the surgery that it's going to be out for a while, even Oscar telling, or I guess recommending, that Ryan be out for the rest of the year to let at least his shoulder heal again. Again, it doesn't specify which shoulder, but are we going to see?
Doesn't matter.
Ryan?
No. Oscar said it doesn't fucking matter. He's out anyways.
All right.
Hey, pick a shoulder. Shit, he's out anyways. Look, this is all about mental. That's all this is about. Physical, yeah, they all fight through pain. So whenever they get these losses, they go, hey, I do have this little clicking in my nose. All right, we'll fix that. Yeah, go get that fixed. And then we'll say it was an injury. They all fight through pain. Ryan probably needed that surgery 2 fights ago, right? But he's been winning, and you don't want to take the time off, so you deal with it. He gets caught on steroids, comes back, looks like shit, and all of a sudden now he has 2 injuries he's been dealing with. Who would have thought when Ryan said, I'm going to retire Rolly Romero, that it was actually him talking about himself and that Rolly Romero was going to retire his ass? Maybe just for the year, and maybe, Ryan doesn't come back at all. We're talking about, inactivity. We're talking about mental state, right? If he's still Vada's all over him, Wada's all over him, he's not getting his right fucking medicines in his body, he just might be done. The Ryan Garcia story might be over, and he was never a champion, right? Crazy ass stat. That kid made hella money in boxing and is never a champion. He did better than Kirk motherfucking Cousins over there in the NFL. Do you know the Kirk Cousins story?
No.
Kirk Cousins has, it's like one playoff victory in his career, but has made like $500 million as a quarterback.
Oh, geez, what the hell?
Yeah.
For what,
No,
as a backup? As the backup or what?
no, like he kept what does he do? He like holds out and just gets like the franchise tag. He's
Mm.
done that like twice where they basically pay him top 3 or something in quarterback wages in the league because he won't sign a contract. Then when he signs a contract, it's like for 300 million, but then he doesn't ever win. So then they move on from him and he does the process all over again. But he's good enough to keep getting the starter job. Yeah, you gotta look up Kirk Cousins, dude. Kirk Cousins, another one of those guys that he hustled the system. And fucking Ryan Garcia, definitely a Kirk Cousins of boxing. It doesn't have a playoff win, but made millions and millions of dollars. So yeah, it's not even sad. I kind of enjoy the fall of Ryan Garcia. The dude was a little fucking wacko. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I don't like how the whole Haney fight. I don't like how he treats women. So I'm kind of glad for the fall of Ryan Garcia. He call me a hater all he wants. I think he's a piece of shit. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So and karma is a bitch, and he's getting everything that he asked for. So yeah, I'm loving where Ryan's at right now. And I'm loving where Raleigh Romero. Raleigh Romero is my new best friend on social media. Love that. That kid's so funny. And he's got his voice back. He got his manhood back. Yeah, he's all good, bro, man. I loved when he was on this phone still throwing that left hook. That was classic. He's at the side. He's at a pool, bro. He's at a pool still throwing that left hook. That's fucking awesome.
Oh man, and that may very well be, if Ryan comes back and if this isn't the end of him, I believe a rematch with him is probably with Rolly is in order. I think if I remember correctly, that's what Oscar said. They most likely will be more interested in because according to him, he's not interested in a Haney rematch because of how poor Haney's performance was, even in winning against Ramirez. But I would be down to watch the rematch of them. Seeing Rolly and Ryan if Ryan comes back, because at this point we don't really know, quite frankly.
Why doesn't Haney just take on Romero?
Yeah, no, yeah. They asked Raleigh in the ring, like afterwards, like, "Hey, I guess we know what happened." And Raleigh seemed very like taken back. He was like, no, no, let them have the rematch. Whatever. It's like, but dude, you just won your fucking opportunity, bro. Go ahead and
But
do it.
and now that everything that has played out, you know what I mean? You would think Raleigh
Oh,
Romero's
yeah.
his stock just went up, because he's there. He has a huge win. He has a huge win on the guy that Haney hates. It's almost a Morales Barrera Pacquiao situation, right? Where
Mhm.
Barrera beats Morales. Morales can go and fight Pacquiao, beats Pacquiao, makes that fight interesting again. So yeah, no, I don't know why the boxing world isn't bringing up Raleigh Romero versus Haney a lot more now that the Lopez fight has dropped out.
Yeah,
Hmm.
especially that, because when he was first asked after his victory in the ring, still he made it seem like he wasn't interested. Okay, fine. At that moment, he's maybe still seeing there's a possible bigger money fight with him not in there with Ryan and Devin, and now Ryan's out of the picture for at least the remainder of the year. It seems Teofimo Lopez and Devin Haney is going to happen. Go ahead, this is
Yeah,
your moment, dude. Step up, like this is your chance. Go ahead, and even if you don't fucking beat Devin, fuck it, like it don't matter. You go in there, you're gonna get a humongous ass payday anyway. And hell, at 147, if they do a full 147, dude, Romero's a stocky motherfucker. I'm sure
yeah.
he'll be strong as fuck at 147. I guess that's a really good point. I don't see why there aren't a lot of people clamoring for this one now that Teofimo backed out.
Right, right.
But speaking of backing out and then back in and back out and back in, it was
I was like,
recently
where's that going?
in and out burger double. It was recently announced by one Turkey Allah Sheik that Dana White is back in the picture of the Canelo and Crawford fight that will be promoted by him / Sila, if I can pronounce that shit right, and of course TKO. According to what Ring Magazine says, from Mike Coppinger, His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh announced that Riyadh season's Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford September 13th super fight will be promoted by Dana White, TKO, and Sila, alongside himself, of course, His Excellency. The first news conference for the Ring Magazine Super Middleweight Championship will take place later this month in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, per Mike Coppinger. So there's going to be the first press conference, right? That's going to kick off the press tour, I'm assuming, for Crawford and Canelo. Will be taking place later this month. No official date on that quite yet, but now we're back. Now Dana's back in the picture for whatever the fuck reason. To whatever degree, we've kind of already established that he's probably not even really going to be too much of it. But there was a UFC card, a pay-per-view last night, where he was asked about this during the press conference after the fight, and he says, "Yeah, I'm promoting it." Okay, buddy. According to him, at least, he says, "Yeah, I'm doing it." And they asked him, like, "So is the fight going to be in Vegas then, or what?" And he's like, "Oh, we'll let you guys know soon enough." He didn't have an answer for him, but it definitely makes things a little more sketch that the UFC announced that there will not be a pay-per-view for the UFC in the month of September, which just so happens to be the same month of Crawford and Canelo. And what happened last time that the UFC tried to put on a pay-per-view in September last year at the Sphere? They lost a fuck ton of money to the ticket sales dropping down, all this stuff. It was well documented. The same night that Canelo fought, was it Berlanga, or who the fuck was it? Forgot who the hell it was, but
Charlo.
No, that was Charlo. It was last year. It was 24. So it had to have been either Berlanga or Munguia, one of the two, because it was one of the two. I forgot which one it was, but
okay.
Regardless, we saw what happened, and it kind of makes this. So we're starting kind of to put the pieces of the puzzle together. There's going to be no UFC pay-per-view, even though there's going to be a UFC Noche event that month, but it won't be pay-per-view. And Dana's over here saying that he is going to be promoting Canelo Crawford September 13th. So who?
I wonder how the UFC feels about that. That he's literally taking questions about a whole company that has nothing to do with the UFC, and it's the rival. It's boxing, right?
Mm.
That's weird that he was able to answer that question.
Well, I think because it was just announced, because the Ring Magazine announced it officially, right, which is owned by Turki. So I guess by that standard, he's okay to disclose it because it already has been announced. But any other details?
Yeah, but Miguel, the UFC isn't as big as it once was. I'm sorry. I've been following this thing for a while. The chat rooms aren't as friendly as they once used to be. Now everything is the UFC's watered down. I fucking hate Dana White. There's too many rematches. You know what I mean? Like there's no American stars, right? Another star last night. Is O'Malley American? Sean O'Malley?
Yes. He
is American. Lost again. Dana did not look happy. They got a lot of shots of Dana not looking happy. I mean, if I'm the UFC, I think I'm going to start telling Dana White, who do you love more, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you love this TKO thing, or do you love your baby that you built into this billion-dollar industry? But it's really flatlined here for some years now. This isn't just a few months ago. Their pay-per-view numbers have really started just flatlining for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
So, look, he's coming into boxing. I think we've already talked about this. With the main event being so much money, Turki Ali Sheik really had no option but to go cheap. Mm-hmm. And cheap is Dana White. We all know the king of cheap fights is Dana White.
Yeah.
His own people say it.
Yes,
right?
Definitely.
So I think that's the only thing that he has going here. Dana White, since this thing is played out, I have no fear that Dana White is taking over anything that has to do with boxing, because boxing already knows that he's cheap. Boxing already knows that he's Dana White. They already seen through him. He's no savior. He doesn't care about fighters. It's not like he's our the guy that's going to save boxing. If anything, you're over here talking about they want to take the Muhammad Ali Act away from boxers.
Yeah. What kind of red flag is that? That they want to get into the sport, and before they do so, they want to change the rules to fit them.
Yeah. So I don't see it working, but I do see the cheap fight thing working. And if he can put on a undercard for less than $250,000. All these Sheiks all in because his main event's costing him $50.
Mm-hmm.
So he's back involved. I don't think he's really involved. I think this is all show. Maybe Turki has a lot of money. He's trying new things. This could be an investment. It's only 10 million.
Mhm.
Last time I checked, that ain't a lot of money over there in Saudi Arabia.
10 million a year, I think. Right.
Yeah, 10 million a year is not a lot of money. So it's I didn't give a shit when it was announced that he's back in, and I kind of already know. And like I said before, this is not the first time that Dana White's used Canelo's name to promote something of his. That's all they're doing again here. They're using Canelo and Crawford. You give him a little respect too. Yeah, not a little. He's his equal to Canelo. They're using their names to push this new TKO thing that Turki at least
TKO. Gotcha.
yeah, push this new TKO promotions that Turki has no idea if it's gonna work or not. This is all just fucking throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. Interested in seeing what the fight card is gonna be. I gotta tell you, I think if Dana was Dana was smart. He is white. If Dana was smart,
he's kind of pink because he gets pissed off all the time.
He would bring a UFC star with him to try to make him a boxer. I don't think it can be any prospect. Prospect will be later on. That'll be when you're building a career. But I think their first splash, he would have to bring a fighter over to make the UFC crowd want to look, check it out. That would be something he's doing. And once again, though, I don't see how the UFC is allowing any of this, and it's fucking amazing that he took.
I don't think I'm not sure if he has as much say as he used to. The second they did, because there's a lot of talk about TKO like doing some shit to the WWE because they're under the same umbrella, and now doing the same thing to the UFC to where it's not the same anymore. And Dana White's buddies, the Fertittas, are not in charge anymore, right? And they let it go a long time ago. So I think even then he's kind of under somebody's thumb. You know what I'm saying? So
then I'm going to say that I won't be surprised if we start getting rumblings out of the combat world that the UFC is going to move on from him. I'm telling you, Miguel, that where the state of the UFC is right now, it's in a good state, but it's also declining. It's not. There's no more growth. And you have your fucking front man up there talking about his new promotional thing. Mm-hmm. Oh no, that didn't go well with some.
And not having the pay-per-view in September. Like, think about that. Like, even if he were to have gone to, let's say he promotes, Canelo, and according to him, he's gonna Canelo Crawford. Why wouldn't there still be a pay-per-view that fucking, because that's usually how it is. There's one UFC pay-per-view a month. There's a whole bunch of events, smaller ones in between, but one major pay-per-view every month. And September isn't going to have one. I think the next one is going to be early October, around that time frame. I'm saying, I forget which the previous one is, but regardless, it's like, what the hell? Like if you're going to go and put a lot of your effort over here, like, let somebody else continue hanging this, but still have a pay-per-view, like that looks bad. It's already bad enough that the face of the UFC, I guess, the Dana, is bolting, doing this over here. And then we're hearing this rumbling about the UFC not having a pay-per-view in September. It's like, oh shit, now that's concerning.
And not just bolting. Miguel, he went to the sport that he claimed was dead 25 fucking years ago. Think about it. He literally bought into the sport that he told all of his fans was fucking dead. Boxing's a joke. Clowns run that thing. Yada, yada, yada. 25 years later, you're like, here's 10 million. Just, please, can I get in? Can I get in? Come on. I don't know, man. Dana's that's bold. That's bold that he talked about boxing on a UFC platform, on a UFC stage. That's really bold of him. That would have pissed me off. Dead serious. That would have made me mad. Here our numbers aren't growing. We don't have any champions out here doing Canelo numbers. When are we going to get a fucking Canelo, Dana? How about that one? When are we going to get a guy that makes $35 million a fight? Can you build that for me? You're over here talking about some fucking shit in Riyadh? You got a new wife, bitch? Go marry her. Get the fuck out of here. Want a divorce? You know what I mean? You ain't gonna have no fucking girlfriend while you're married to me.
He's like, I gotta have no side chick. What the fuck
you see my new titties on my new girl?
Yeah, I pay for them titties. That's why I had to make them. That definitely blows. That makes things a lot iffy when we see the stuff that's going on in the UFC and the cards. That what you're saying is pretty significant that there aren't any American champions, and that's like kind of our most recent hope with O'Malley. I was going through all of the champions of the weight classes: Brazil, Australia, South Africa, Russia, and those are the champs. We don't have any American. I mean, if you want to include John Jones, who is currently the UFC heavyweight champ, but he hasn't fought in God 2 fucking years at this point, and the interim champion, who many consider to be the legit champion, is from the UK. So he's not even American. Fuck. So that's a huge deal.
You have your first. You have your first out gay champion, right?
Oh, who? Oh, the chicks? One of the chicks?
No, the guy that was kissing another man on one of the fights that he ended.
Oh, goddamn. Okay.
He had a dude. Come on, bro. He has a rainbow flag on his uniform. He kissed his.
Oh shit! I missed that.
He kissed his corner man after a fight. You don't know about the champion that's out?
No. Are we talking about the South African? What's the name?
I don't know.
DDP?
He's a white dude. I know.
Oh yeah,
white.
he looks white, but he's a South African dude. Everybody, I didn't know it was legitimate. I mean, I just knew that everybody suspected it, but I don't know if anybody said it was like for real.
Oh no, there's like reels showing. No, yeah, it's totally real, and I think there's bro on the chat. If you go to the chat room.
Oh no, I don't want to go to the chat room.
Yeah, if you go to the chat room, is John Jones? Has he ever been married?
I don't know if he's ever been married, but I mean, he's been with chicks, obviously.
He has been with girls.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They talk about John Jones a lot. I was like, what the fuck? I didn't know that. I didn't know that he was even suspect over there. You know what I mean? Like, but there's hell of comments like, dude, our heavyweight champ's been like that. They talk about St. Pierre being like that. It's just Dana. He's got a lot on his plate. That's obviously big. A sport that has always been teased.
Yeah.
Right. And now one of your champs is legit kissing kissing men after fights. They have that against them now, right? Now they have to. All I'm saying is they're dealing with so much now, right? Non-Americans, superstars, pay-per-views are dwindling. Guys are coming out in the fucking ring. There's a lot going on.
And now there's one less pay-per-view this year. One less pay-per-view.
They tried it in football. Didn't seem to work, right? The guy doesn't last a year. He was on the Raiders, fucking gets bolted. The guy on the Rams gets bolted. Like both guys that came out don't even stay in the NFL that long, bro. They're both gone. One of them's in the Canadian League. The other one I only think's in football. Like it was whoop whoop. You know what I'm saying? Like their draft stock went really high, and then as soon as they got on the team, everyone's like, "Yeah, I ain't fucking doing that." And so that was that. And it would be the same. I ain't gonna even go down that road. I'm just telling you, the UFC's been dealing with a lot lately. You think Dana White would be putting more effort into that company, right? Than over here messing around with the thing that doesn't even sound like it's gonna get off the ground. I'm sorry, $10 million a year isn't buying anything. It really isn't. It's just the whole thing's weird what they're trying to move over there. So we'll let it happen. But that is shocking that he was able to talk about that at the UFC. That's going to be interesting in this next week or so to see if there's any rumors about UFC bosses not happy about Dana White answering boxing questions. Yeah.
You don't think like right now you said, over here not really paying attention to the UFC, even though there's a decline, paying attention more to hit TKO, Sila, whatever the hell he's going to do over here with Crawford and Canelo. You mentioned just now dealing with something that might not get off the ground. Is there a greater chance of it getting off the ground because of the current circumstance of Top Rank not having a platform, of PBC being on his deathbed, two major guys who at one point were major players, them not being in the picture, or potentially not being in the picture for much longer? Wouldn't that kind of increase TKO's chances of getting off the ground?
No, because you have fighters like Abdullah Mason, Keyshawn Davis, the Vargas dynasty.
But they're not going to pay millions yet, though, right?
We don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
I see the Vargas kid already drives a Lamborghini, so he's getting paid something. I know he has other outlets. I know they have a TV show and all that other shit. But why has that kid got a Lamborghini already? It's a fucking, the oil change is like $7,000, $14,000 in that car. You know what I mean? An oil change. I don't know what they make, but what I do know is for his father knows that he ain't fighting for no fucking $10,000.
Hmm.
I know that. I know Crawford's trainer Bo Mack knows what boxing makes, so he's not going to let his guys fight for anything less. Keyshawn and them, the younger dudes, right?
Hmm.
Even telling you guys fucking crazy. I don't see it working with any of the old heads in boxing that know what these fighters are worth, right?
What if they don't have a choice? Like, let's say I'm gonna try to paint this
But they
picture, right?
but they do have a choice.
Well, that's the thing. If let's say Oscar says no, I ain't taking fucking like if let's say Vargas, right? Was it Emiliano gets paid a certain amount of money, right? Couple mil, I don't know, whatever. Top Rank says I've been giving this guy, and Top Rank goes under. And the two other major players being Eddie Hearn, right, Matchroom, and Oscar, and they say, "Yeah, dude, I'm not gonna pay you no fucking two. I know maybe Top Rank was paying you two, but I'm paying you. I'm not gonna pay you that." At that point, just using that scenario, they wouldn't have many other options. It would have to be them or TKO. No.
No, I think they would. I think Fernando would open his own. You're going to see a lot of guys doing their own promotional company. Now, maybe it's total shit show and none of it works out and they all lose their ass. But I think they would do their own show because, Miguel, if you're only going to make 10, 20 grand, the fuck, your dad can do that, right? I can try to sell $20,000 worth of seats. You're going to have a lot of those attitudes in there.
Mm.
You got to remember, when Dana White bought the UFC, he had the best fighters in the world dead broke. That's not the sport over here. We might have fighters that are broke, but it's not the elites, right? The elites make a lot of money, and that's what the Royce Gracies and the Ken Shamrocks and the who are some of the other legends over
Dan
there?
Severns.
Dan Severns, yes. They call Mark Coleman's. That's what these men weren't making, but they were the best talent. Best talent that you got for dirt fucking cheap. Come on. How is that not going to be a winning formula for the guys with money? But in boxing, you better come out to pocket 20 million before you get one of those elite guys. Yeah, come out to pocket 10 million, right? So he's like, and I'm saying 10 million for Terrence, poor Terrence.
Yeah.
We know he doesn't make as much as the other big boys.
He will. He will though. He will. Not.
I don't know, man. So he's talking fucking retirement. He's talking one more fight. Like, I don't know. Terrence, he makes about 10 million.
Virgil Ortiz saying he talked to Crawford directly and said, "Yeah, Crawford's not coming back to 154. He's never coming back." Like, okay, I guess. Well, that leads us to our final topic of the evening. We had a retirement this week, Andrew. We had one, Vasily Lomachenko, finally throwing the towel on his great career, getting a title shot.
Wait a minute, Miguel. You want to put out a tweet how we called it first and our insiders fucking told us that, you know what I mean? If you
put some respect on Mad Boxing, guys. Our inside source. No. We know what we're talking about. Shit. Yeah. But yeah, so Vasily decided to retire. There was a lot of talks about a potential fight with him and Tank Davis because that was the last time we heard Vasily's name around. We're like, oh shit, we're gonna get it. And Vasily backed out and said no for whatever reason. Maybe it was the money, maybe it was the location, maybe it could have been any number of things. Maybe he was just done. He's like, man, fuck this, I'm done. Go out on a win against Cambosos, get a belt. I think he was the IBF champ at that point, winning that vacant belt, and finally threw in the towel, right? I posted a picture on our Facebook account of me and Vasily. This was 2015, I believe. It was the weekend of Mayweather Pacquiao here in Vegas. There's a popular mall down in the strip called the Fashion Show Mall. I was down there walking, and I see him. And I believe Top Rank put a card on that Friday. I forgot, but I see him. I'm like, oh shit, Vasily. So I go, and at that time, I thought he's a he'll featherweight, I believe, at that point. And I go, nobody knows him, right? Just kind of walking around with his own shirt on. If you see the picture, he has his own shirt on, right? And I was like, hey, Vasily, quick picture. Like, cool, boom. So it was, a younger Miguel who was a lot lighter. Both he and I were a lot lighter at the time. But nonetheless, happy retirement to one Vasily Lomachenko. Andrew, what is a specific memory, a core memory, I guess, one of your best memories that you have of Vasily Lomachenko that you can look back and be like, fuck, that shit was badass?
Well, probably just the run that he does, right? Was he knock out or makes 4 guys surrender on their stools, something like that?
No Lomachenko.
Yeah. His retirement, it it wasn't surprising, um, because of his age, and he's also what did he go through? 3 Olympics? Is he a 3-time Olympian?
Oh damn, I don't know. I don't remember right offhand. I
It's
know
either
two,
two
but
or three.
I
Yeah,
know
it's
two for
either.
sure, but I don't know about three.
I want to say he stood into the Olympics till he was like 26 or 27, bro.
Mm.
Do you know how many world tournaments, national tournaments, travel he had to do just to get into 2, possibly 3 Olympics? This guy is tired when he turns pro from
Yeah,
traveling. You know what I mean? From all the sparring, the training. He had like 300 or 400 amateur fights, man.
yeah. It was like 396 or something up
Yeah,
there. Yeah,
yeah. And 5 losses. The fuck? Just an incredible run. So yeah, dude, wear and tear was very high. The mileage on him was very high. You know, the age is high. I ain't mad that he retired. It kind of sucks he stood so long in the amateurs, but I don't think Vasily's, I don't think he's regretting anything. He had a hell of a career. Him and Usyk are best friends. They both ended on top of the world. It's Usyk might be part of the reason why he's retiring. Maybe Usyk didn't have a good report about Riyadh. He's like, you don't want any part of that place, right?
or like I was thinking myself, like the current state of Top Rank. It's like, yeah, I'm not gonna get another big payday out of those guys. Fucking, I'm out of here. No point.
True. That is very true.
Hmm.
That because we thought we had the Vasily card for a few fighters, right? And it just never got pulled. And you're right, it's probably Top Rank that stalled his career. Like now we're just not doing those type of fights anymore. Probably right on that. So yeah, no, it's sad, but come on, he's 37, 38, something like
I
that.
believe 37. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, and just the wear and tear on the man's body, I ain't mad. Good, he had a good career, and I still show Junior, even though it's hard to duplicate, the movement that he put on in the ring was second to none. Yeah, he was a badass from the very beginning. Wish he would have rematched Salido, but whatever,
Yeah. I mean, we know
Salido,
which direction they went, right?
Salido's in prison somewhere in Mexico, saying I whooped his ass. No, just kidding. Didn't he get it right? Didn't he get in trouble? Isn't Orlando Salido in trouble over there?
I don't. I heard something. I don't know what. I don't know about jail, but I know he got himself in some legal issues.
Yeah,
No
I
doubt
think he
about
took
that.
a car through a house or some shit. Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I beat Loma and I broke Mike Garcia's nose with my fucking forehead. I did one of those kind of things.
Oh yeah, he made Mark. Yeah, that's true. He made Mikey quit too. Yep.
One of those kind of things. But we here at Mad Boxing would like to wish Vasily Lomachenko a happy retirement. He did a lot of stuff. That decision, a loss against Haney, tight decision loss against Teofimo. Those were wins. Holy hell, you know what I'm saying? But whatever, they ended up being losses. Doesn't diminish the fact that those guys are still on top of the world, right? It's not like he's losing to fucking nobodies. He's losing to the best of the best, and even in close decisions. So happy retirement to one Vasily Lomachenko. If I ever see him again, I'll ask him for another picture, just because. But that does it. That pretty much wraps up this weekend show. Again, we appreciate everybody's patience with last week because of my at least hectic schedule. Andrew, before we close it out, is there anything else you want to add here before we call it a night?
Nope. Have a good night, people.
All righty, fantastic. Well, for my co-host Andrew, don't get it twisted, Lapiche. This is Miguel Antonio Barragan, aka Fight Feed Migs. This has been Mad Boxing Show. We will see you guys next week. Enjoy the rest of your week, work week, I should say. Peace. Take care.